on this episode of the Sorority Chat podcast.
You gotta listen, actively listen, and like even like in negotiation, you know, they say things like, hey, repeat the last three words that they just said and then kind of carry on the conversation. So the person who's talking felt heard, and they feel important, and then it feels genuine, and the conversation flows really well. All things I've learned, you know, through recruitment, talking to people, and just over time with these leadership roles.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Sorority Chat. I'm Liz Alexander, a designer and sorority alum who's obsessed with all things Greek life. My mission? To bring you real conversations, smart insights, and fun stories that help make sorority living even better. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's chat. Hey sorority chatters, welcome back to this week's episode. Joining us today is Kevin Kocian. Kevin grew up in the small Czech town of West Texas. He attended UT Arlington and joined Pi Kappa Phi at a time when that chapter was struggling financially and down to just a handful of members. Through a lot of persistence, leadership, and figuring things out in real time, he helped lead the chapter out of debt and grow membership significantly before graduating. Today, he's an entrepreneur, alumni volunteer, and founder of ClickWave. And I'm excited to talk with him about leadership, accountability, his participation in Greek life, what entrepreneurship has looked like for him, and what young leaders can learn from navigating challenges early on. Hey, Kevin.
Howdy, how y'all doing?
I am great. How are you today?
Doing great.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking. I think your story is a cool one, and there's lots of persistence and resilience showing up in it, which is always an encouraging message for others to hear.
Of course, yes. There's a lot of persistence to be had, and happy to talk about it all.
So talk about what it was like growing up in West Texas. It sounds like a tight-knit community with the Czech culture. So share a little bit about that with us.
So growing up in West Texas, you can't just say West Texas.
You're right.
If you say West Texas, you're like, well, where in West Texas? West Texas is a little north of Waco. So, and Waco is between Dallas and Austin. And growing up in West, exactly like you said, you nail it, the nail on the hammer with a hammer. And that is, it's a tight-knit community. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone's related to everyone. So it kind of makes dating kind of hard. Yeah, there was like a picture from the 1950s, and like, you know, normal pictures about, you know, yay big. This picture was about yay big, and you can't even see it, like, you know, but yay big. And then there was probably like 50, 60 different people in it, and they're all Kocians. Couldn't tell you who was who, but I know I'm related to every single one. Yeah, so, you know, growing up, there was, you know, we had kolaches, you know, we'd go to like, you know, before football games and even powerlifting meets, we would eat kolaches. That was our go-to Czech pastry dish. You know, and it goes back to the movie Friday Night Lights. That's what it was. You know, I remember doing 3-a-days in 110-degree heat. So it was, you know, that alone. I remember my coach, you know, he always would tell me, you know, you're going to hit a wall and you're going to run through it. You're going to keep on running. You're going to run through another wall, but you're going to hit a wall and it's going to knock you in your butt. All you can do is get back up and try to run through that wall, and it might knock you in the butt again, but you got to run through that wall, and you just keep on, and you eventually run through the wall and continue running through it to another wall, keep them running. Yeah, everyone kind of knows everyone. It's a tight-knit family. Everyone was really caring. Everyone really cares. And it's just, you know, there for each other. It's just a really good family type of vibe, West Texas.
Yeah, it sounds that way. I would also say that doing 3-a-days in that heat and running through those walls built a lot of endurance in you and that like go-getter attitude.
Definitely. It definitely taught me a lot. I didn't know back then what he meant, but that advice has, I mean, to this day, I still listen to that to myself. I'm like, all right, Kevin, you know, you just hit a wall. You just got to get back up and run through it. It's going to be all right. And then you'll just keep on going. It's just life. So you got to keep on going through it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a lesson everybody learns. It sounds like you learned it early, which is going to pay off. So you studied software engineering at UT Arlington, which on paper feels pretty different than leadership and entrepreneurship. So did you always see yourself building a company and something on your own?
Yes. In 8th grade, I was hacking on my friends' phones.
Stop.
I was hacking games. I hacked South Korea just to play a game and internationally with things unlocked. I was in those hacking groups, and then I realized I was gonna get in trouble, so I put that down. And then through high school, I was always a computer guy. Everyone always hit me up about computers or just like even jailbreaking phones. That was a thing back then, and today. But I was like the first people doing that. And then got to senior year in high school, and they always ask you that question: what do you want to do when you grow up? And I kind of like looked at my life, kind of looked at myself, and I was like, well, I'm really good at computers, and yeah, I want to be in software engineering. But I also said I want to start my own company. So since senior year in high school, I always knew I wanted to lead my own software company. And well, the first step, I need to get better in software and get the degree and things like that. So that's kind of like what led to the software engineering and then eventually into entrepreneurship.
That's really cool, though, that you knew from a young age that you wanted to create something on your own and use your powers for good instead of getting into trouble.
Definitely. I had credit card generators. I had all kinds. I shouldn't talk about that, but I was like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. I need to stop that.
So then talking a little bit more about your collegiate experience, I'm really interested in your fraternity story because it sounds like you joined at a relatively difficult time for the chapter. And so you joined, there was low membership and some debt. So what made you attracted to the organization and want to get involved and help turn it around?
Great question. The reason why I joined Pi Kappa Phi, before I even knew about the stuff, is its philanthropy. Pi Kappa Phi owns and operates its own philanthropy. It's now called the Ability Experience. Ability Experience helps people with disabilities. My mom, she can't see out of one eye, she can't smell, and she can't hear out of one ear. She was in a very bad car accident when she was about 14. She's like a metal plate in her head, and is lucky to be alive. And she's lucky to be alive, and I'm lucky to be alive because of that. That was my first, reason. I was like, oh man, this is, it's going bringing back to my mom. And the second reason was, I started hanging out with the guys, and I was like, man, these guys are cool. These guys remind me about my friends from back in West. And, my friends from West, tight-knit family, just dare for each other, want to help each other. And this really good, caring, gentleman. I was like, man, these guys are, really cool. And so that's what really got me to join Pi Kappa Phi. It wasn't until really afterwards, I was like, oh, we're kind of down. Like we're kind of owing some money. We don't have a lot of membership, but that didn't really matter. It was the people. It was about the people and the mission that really drove me there to it.
I love that, though, because that's what you hope is drawing members to a chapter is the connection with the other folks and then the ultimate mission. And that's a really cool connection for you to the philanthropy. I didn't know that about their philanthropy, so I'm glad that you told us about it.
Yeah. And it's great because they, like I said, they own and operate. Like right now, they're doing what they call Journey of Hope, where they ride a bicycle across the country. And they stop at towns and help people with disabilities in the towns and raise awareness for people with disabilities. And now they have Gear Up New York, where they ride across New York, and Gear Up Florida, where they ride across Florida and doing the same thing. It's a big thing for Pi Kappa Phi, the ability experience as well.
Yeah. Are you ever going to ride across the U.S.?
I can. If I had the time, I would 100% do it. But, in Gear Up New York, I'm in New York now. I'll definitely be at the finish line to, celebrate the boys bringing home the win. I still participate to this day.
That's cool. So I know you had multiple leadership roles during your time. So you were secretary, president, treasurer, VP. What did those experiences teach you about leadership post-graduation?
I kind of do it one by one. So secretary taught me how to organize and because I was given nothing. They were like, hey, figure it out.
Yeah.
So I had to really quickly figure it out and making sure people knew about things and events and, making sure they're aware of it and they were showing up, delivering the messages. That was a communication hub. I was making sure people were, accountable, that they knew the events and things like that. And then it just really made sure that me to track everything and know where everything's at all times. President helped me learn about managing people. And, and it's something that I always tell even the new presidents in my chapter today, everyone hates the current president until the next president. Like even the president of the United States, doesn't matter who it is that there's someone to blame the finger on, and that's who they blame it on. And so I'm like, hey, you're going to go through a lot. and people are going to be upset with you, and you're not going to make every right decision, but you're going to need to do your best, and you're going to learn. You're not going to be right every time. You're going to fail. But again, you got to run through that wall. You're going to hit that wall. Someone's going to be mad at you, but you got to get up and carry the team and say thank you. Say thank you and appreciate your team, and always, tell them, or someone does something good, make sure that they're awarded with that and known about that. Bring it up to meetings and celebrate the wins, and don't take the credit. Give the credit to the people who deserve it. You're going to have to be the last one cleaning the room. You're going to have to take the trash out. And so it's just, part of it. So just be prepared to always be working really hard and bringing in a positive environment. So if the environment's good, then the team will work good as well. So you got to have a positive environment. I can continue on forever about that, but treasure was about budgeting, making sure, you get your numbers lined up, making sure everything's lined up. People are paying their dues, money's coming in, and it stays in and continues to grow. You got to make sure people are paying and stay on top of things. And that kind of came back from, the secretary. Instead of, people showing up to things, you now need to know people are paying their dues on time. VP was all about, recruiting. In the summer, there's summer orientations. And this kind of came back from the secretary thing where I was like, hey guys, all right, here's the game plan. We got all these events, who's available on this event? All right, cool. Boom. And then do that for the whole summer. And I create a whole system, a whole process where people just know what to do when they show up. We had exercises before the summer started. I'm like, hey guys, I know we're about to break for summer. I know Rush Week's coming up in fall, but let me ask y'all, how do y'all talk to people? When this event comes up, what do y'all need to do when you get to the event? So I ran it through them, and I was like, all right, guys, this is how you're going to do it. When the event's happening, spread out and, block people's paths so they have to come talk to you. And then, recruit. And what are you going to say? You have to sell real quick and then get their name and number down. And then you'll follow up with them a week later. Because you're trying to sell, because especially those events, they happen so quick. So you just got to show them what's the value you have, and then get their name and number, and then follow with them later on because they got other things to do that day anyway. And so VP was about delegating, making sure everyone knows what to do, and how to recruit, how to talk to people, and it's really kind of put your out of your comfort zone, because it's kind of hard to just go talk to people, random people, and you're like, I don't, it's always a little awkward, but if you have the system in place, then people know what to do. So it's just always making sure people knew what to do.
Okay, so two things stood out to me as you were walking through those roles. The first one is how different men's recruiting is from women's recruiting in Greek life. And so, obviously I know the women's side of it. And so it was just interesting to hear you talk about what that looks like for y'all. And then secondly, every single role, you can tell that you lead a company because you talk about what you pulled from each of those experiences and what it taught you. And you can just hear the leader in you with you talking about don't take credit for everything yourself. Make sure your team is getting credit. And it's such a profound way to think about things. I think everyone assumes when you lead something, it's all about me, I'm the hero. And it's quite the opposite if you want to be successful.
Definitely. And the thing is people like to feel heard. They like to feel important. And even in the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, when you're talking to people, you want them to talk about themselves. And it's the same thing. And when people feel heard and feel important, they want to help you more, because they're like, oh my God, I'm getting recognition. And it's not manipulative. It's just how we work as humans. As long as the goal is really positive, they're going to want to do those things.
Yes, absolutely. It's just making them, you're building a connection, I guess I would say, and you're making them feel comfortable and building that experience for them. I agree. It's not manipulative at all. This comes up so much with different guests on the show. And so it's just fun to hear the repeated theme about how much listening makes a difference for people.
Definitely. And you said listening. Listening's a big thing too. You gotta listen, actively listen, and like even like in negotiation, they say things like, "Hey, repeat the last three words that they just said, and then kind of carry on the conversation." So the person who's talking felt heard, and they feel important, and then it feels genuine, and the conversation flows really well. All things I've learned, through recruitment, talking to people, and just over time with these leadership roles.
Yeah. I know that you refer to running a Greek organization as it's a business run by students. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think that is such a unique perspective and so accurate.
Definitely. Yes. Let's talk about it.
So, I mean, just like, what do you mean by that? Like, it's a business run by students. Most of our listeners are Greek, but if somebody isn't Greek, like, how would you explain that to them?
Yeah. So running a Greek life organization is like running a business because you have HR, right? HR, you have to recruit. You got to get your employees in. Interviews, you got to do interviews. Like, hey, do you like this person? Do they have what it takes? And then, they bring them in, and you get to the manager role, and then they you bring them to the manager, and the manager's like, yeah, they're good. Let's vote for them, and they're in, right? That's one way. And then another way is, especially if you're like returning your sorority house, you got to be a property manager. You got to make sure people are paying their rent. If they're not paying their rent, you got to be that person that has to kick them out. And it sucks. It's the worst feeling in the world. But like, if you don't do that, there's a hole in the budget, and now someone has to pay the debt, right? And then that kind of goes back into managing people, managing expectations, and just being like the president, you got to manage people. That's like running it like the CEO, right? So you got to manage people, making sure everything's in line. When you're the treasurer, you got to make sure there's a budget, making sure that there's revenue coming in, hopefully profits coming in with your fraternity or sorority, so you can do those bigger events. And then you do event planning. So you have to do events, just like a business. Business goes out and does events, does marketing, right? That's marketing in a sense. You're doing marketing, you're doing social media, you're posting on social media. And so you got HR, your CFO, and then you got your CEO, and then you got your CMO. You're literally just a whole suite of people who are running a business. And meanwhile, you're having to do all of this while you're going to school, and some of them have jobs, and you're doing philanthropy. I mean, it's really tough. So really, Greek life, running a business while you're 18 to 22 is a very, very, very tough thing. But that builds character, and it builds a leadership in you, and then you can literally carry those skills down later in life.
I love that. I'm so glad that you went through that. A friend of mine, Alicia Connor, she runs Corporate Sorority Sister, and she works with sorority women on translating all of their Greek experience and roles, whatever level of involvement that is, onto their resume for their career. And you all are very like-minded in the way that you see the connection between those two things.
I love that. I'm really big in seeing things abstractly. One thing it's just basically a model, and it's a model, and it's rooted in things, and we're just using different words to describe the same thing. It's literally the same thing. It's just different words. And I go really deep into this. I won't go too deep in it, but it's like, even like, what's in Spanish and English, you can say different words, but you're really in your brain has the same knowledge of the same thing. You're just calling it different things. And really in the English language, it's the same thing. It's, you call it fraternity or sorority, but it's really a business. It's the same thing. It's just called different things.
No, that's a good analogy. Just the roots are the same. And then we take our verbiage and expand upon it depending on what sector you're in, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. So I know that you're still heavily involved as an alum, which says a lot about you and your fraternity experience. And I think you just recently received UTA's Fraternity and Sorority Life Member of the Year award. So congrats. And what does that mean for you and to you?
It means a lot to me. I put a lot of work in, but I would not have done it without credit where it's due. I would not have done it without my chapter, Delta Psi. They're really great leaders. They're really great people. They're really, really great gentlemen. And, they listen really well, but they're the ones doing all the actions. They're all the ones doing the real hard work. And, I wouldn't be able to have done it without them. So it makes me feel really proud that my chapter is growing and they're doing really great. That was just the award came out of that because of them.
That's so cool. I mean, and they're lucky to have a mentor like you still willing to come back and to work with them as well.
Yeah, I'm lucky to have them.
You're humble. That's good. So let's talk a little bit about ClickWave and how it works and how it works with the Greek community. Tell me about that.
Founded ClickWave because I went through a lot of pain and had to find out the hard way how to run a Greek organization. So I put all the knowledge I've learned into it. How it works is like you create your chapter on the app. And you select your university and then which national fraternity or sorority you belong to. And it automatically puts you, let's say you create your chapter and I join your chapter. I'm going to automatically join your national sorority and then the university that we belong to. So that means is, every sorority on campus that creates their chapter in the app will also be put in the university group and the Panhellenic Council as well. So that way there's a hierarchical structure where a head of Greek life can tell Panhellenic Council what to do, and the Panhellenic Council tells what the sorority chapters to do, sending the MDC and IFC and the fraternities. And at the same time, it goes up the other way in the national way, where the national organizations can tell them and give them events and hold them accountable. So the university holds the chapters accountable, and the national organization holds them accountable. And then on top of that, and if you're like traveling around the country, you get access to every person in your national organization. So if you're traveling the country and you're like, hey, what's going on in Florida? I'm going to be in Florida. People in your chapters in Florida can reach out and like, oh yeah, come over to the house. Or maybe you're not doing so great as a chapter, like my chapter when I first joined, and I can reach out to a chapter that has over 100 members and say, hey, what's working for y'all? How can we do better? It's things like that where it has a social outreach between the university and the national organization. But on top of that, we just have accountability built into it where we're constantly reminding members about events and announcements and making sure that they read the messages that are important so that they actually show up. When I ask chapters, presidents, vice presidents, I always ask them, what's your biggest struggle and pain? And 9 out of 10 times they say participation, engagement, accountability. And that's what our app solves. It makes sure people are showing up, they're engaged, they're participating, and that they're held accountable along the way. And so we just constantly making sure people are aware and know those messages. Messages don't get lost in the sauce. I can't tell you how many times like there's been a meeting and someone says, wait, there's an event coming up on Thursday. And I'm like, dude, we've been talking about it for like 3 weeks now. How do you not know? So our app is going to make sure that by 3 weeks ago that you're and it makes sure that it's in your calendar. So we sync your calendar. We have smart announcements. We're having live chat so where you can do video and audio conferencing, and we're also adding an AI in there too. It's on our roadmap this summer and fall where we'll have AI to just what is good for your chapter, because we can use AI to learn from other chapters that are doing really good and start applying it to your chapter. So you can for example, maybe your chapter at the university has already all the events for recruitment already lined up. And if your chapter doesn't, it will recommend, hey, have you thought about setting up the recruitment events up? And constantly do smart decisions that way. Basically taking all the knowledge that we've learned throughout the years and using AI to guide you and hold your hand in the way. So you don't have to learn the hard way and it just lets you know what to do.
So it's not like you're having to reinvent the wheel. You're sort of using templates put out by successful chapters before you, it sounds like.
Yes, exactly.
So then is it solely event focused, or are there other components? Because I know you said like it can be nationals telling folks what to do and Panhellenic telling folks what to do, but what's the what to do? Is it just the events and the schedule, or are there other pieces to it?
You can define whatever you have designed. It can be an event, it can be a task.
Okay.
And it's also points as well. Something I forgot to mention. So there's points there. So, and there's like a leadership board. So you can see who's actually accomplishing things. It can be anything. And it's going back to the whole abstract thing. What is an event? It's something that you want to accomplish by a certain time. You want to go to somewhere, to a location on Earth at a certain time. What's a goal? A goal is something you want to accomplish by a certain amount of time. What's a task? Is something you want to accomplish by a certain amount of time. They're really the same, different words, but they're really the same thing. So that's what it's all it is. It's the same thing as, it's like, why do you complete your assignments for class? It's because you get a goal to complete something by a certain amount of time. And that goal, that end date, that time, like where, maybe like, you have to complete this paper by, Friday. There's some scarcity, and it makes you psychologically want to complete it. Like if you know in your brain, like I need to do this by Friday, you're going to do it. That's how our app shapes it to be.
So then how do people find your app? Like if they're interested in pursuing it, how can they connect with you and learn more about it?
So they can find it at clickwave.com/linktree. It has all our links, has a demo, tells you how to create your chapter, join a chapter, and that's how you can find more about it.
That's great. And we'll make sure we put all of that in the show notes so that everybody gets that spelled right. Well, Kevin, I really enjoyed having you on and you sharing your experience with us and all of the knowledge. You've come full circle with it, with putting together Clickwave, and I appreciate your time.
I appreciate y'all. I really do appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, and thank y'all so much for having me on here.
Welcome to Liz's House Hot Takes. This is where I take the lessons I've learned over the last 16 years of designing Greek houses and offer you my pro tips. Here's today's House Hot Take. The facilities chair needs a binder too. Keep finish specs, paint colors, furniture layouts, and vendor contacts all in one place for her. Exec boards change year after year, but institutional memory should not. I know sorority women love a binder, so make one for your housing details. Thanks for listening to another House Hot Take. For more inspiration, check out the PDR Interiors Instagram or TikTok. I'm Liz Alexander, and this is the Sorority Chat Podcast. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you got something out of today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out this video right here or this one over here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. I'm Liz Alexander, and this is the Sorority Chat Podcast. Catch you next time. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry for Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Liz Alexander.